My name is Sophia Bennett. 6 months ago, I was a 29-year-old climate scientist living the dream in Aspen, Colorado, with parents I thought loved me. Then a blizzard nearly killed me, shattered my body, and exposed a gut-wrenching truth. The people who raised me weren't my parents at all. They left me to die in that hospital bed, all to snatch my $6 million inheritance. But they didn't know I'd left a letter that would rip their lies apart and uncover a 29-year-old secret. If you're watching, hit subscribe now. You won't believe what's coming. I grew up in a snow-dusted chalet in Aspen, where my parents, Charles and Victoria Bennett, were real estate tycoons. Our life looked perfect. Marble floors, private schools, and a Range Rover in the driveway. But perfection came at a cost. They pushed me to be flawless, straight A's, science fairs, no room for error. Bennetts don't settle, Dad would snap. Mom would chime in. We've invested too much in you. That word, invested, always felt cold. There were odd clues I ignored. No baby photos before age 3. My blonde hair and green eyes didn't match their brown. When I asked about my roots, they dodged, saying old pictures got lost in a flood. At 12, I asked about my grandma, who supposedly left me that fortune. She passed before you were born, they said. But their eyes flickered. I should have known then. If you've ever sensed something's off with your family, drop a comment below. Trust me, you'll want to hear how my so-called parents betrayed me in the worst way imaginable. Stick around, this gets wild. That word invested still haunts me. Growing up in Aspen's glitz, I was Charles and Victoria Bennett's golden ticket, not their daughter. Our chalet sparkled with wealth, crystal chandeliers, heated floors, and a view of snow-capped peaks that screamed privilege. But behind the facade, their love felt like a transaction. They enrolled me in elite boarding schools, science camps, anything to mold me into a prodigy. You're destined for greatness, Mom would say, her smile sharp. Dad's mantra was colder. Failure isn't in our blood. I thought they meant our blood. I was wrong. By 16, I was winning national science fairs, but the pressure was suffocating. A B+ in chemistry once got me a week of silence from Dad. Mom would whisper, "We've sacrificed too much for you to slip." Sacrifice what? I wondered. The clues kept piling up. My birth certificate, needed for a driver's license, looked oddly crisp, like it was printed yesterday. When I asked about baby pictures, Mom's story about a flooded storage unit felt rehearsed. My blonde hair and green eyes stood out against their dark features. You take after your grandma, they'd say, but no photos of her existed. I'd never met her. Yet at 25, I inherited $6 million from this mystery woman. That should have been my wake-up call. When I got that inheritance, everything shifted. Charles and Victoria's eyes lit up, but not with pride, with hunger. They pushed me to funnel the money into their real estate firm. It's what family does, Dad urged, his voice too smooth. Mom kept dropping hints about secure investments. Something felt off, so I hired an independent advisor instead. I used some cash to buy a cozy condo in Denver and fund my climate research. Dad was livid. "You're throwing away our legacy," he shouted. Mom's tears seemed staged. "After all we've done for you." Their anger wasn't about love, it was about control. Over the next 4 years, they hounded me for loans. A ski resort deal that tanked. A shady casino venture. Each pitch was more desperate, their smiles tighter. I said no every time, and our dinners grew tense, their questions about my finances sharper. "You're sitting on a fortune," Dad once snapped. "Why let it rot?" I still called them for holidays, clinging to the idea of family. But deep down I knew something was rotting, and it wasn't my money. By 29, I'd carved out a name in climate science, studying how warming winters were melting Aspen's snowpack. My research was gaining traction, published in top journals. I felt like I was finally living for me, not them. Then came that fateful trip. I was collecting data in the Rockies, a routine solo trek. The forecast was clear, but Aspen's weather can turn on a dime. A blizzard roared in, visibility dropped to 0, and I slipped down a ravine. My legs snapped, pain blinding. I was alone, freezing, bleeding out in the snow. Somehow, I radioed for help before blacking out. I woke in a hospital, tubes in my throat, machines beeping. The pain was unbearable, but what I overheard was worse. Charles and Victoria were there, their voices low, calculating. "She's not our daughter," Dad hissed. "If she dies, the estate's ours." Mom's reply chilled me. "No surgery. Let her money cover it. They walked out, plotting to claim my fortune. If you've ever felt betrayed by those you trusted most, comment below. You won't believe how I turned their greed against them. Keep watching. This is just the start. Their voices still echo in my head. Cold, calculated, slicing through the hospital's sterile hum. She's not our daughter, Dad said. If she dies, the estate's ours. Mom's words were even crueler. No surgery. Let her money cover it. I was trapped in a haze of pain, my legs shattered from that blizzard fall, barely conscious, but those words burned clearer than the monitors beeping around me. Charles and Victoria didn't just abandon me. They gambled on my death to cash in on my $6 million inheritance. I clung to consciousness, fighting the sedatives, knowing I had to survive. Not just the injuries but their betrayal. The doctors were frantic, begging for consent to operate. My femur was splintered, internal bleeding pooling fast. Without surgery I'd be gone in hours. But my so-called parents walked out, their footsteps fading as they whispered about lawyers and bank accounts. I couldn't speak, couldn't scream, but inside I was raging. How could the people who raised me, who cheered at my science fairs, who framed my diplomas, see me as nothing but a paycheck? The truth hit harder than the ravine's rocks. I wasn't their daughter. But who was I? Nurse Lily Harper saved me. She overheard their callous words and refused to let me slip away. We'll find another way, she told the doctor, her voice fierce. They dug through my phone, found my emergency contact. Ethan Brooks, my best friend since college. Ethan raced from Denver, arriving within 2 hours, signing the surgery papers while I drifted in and out. He sat by my bed, his hand gripping mine, whispering, "You're tougher than this storm, sophomore." Lily checked on me during breaks, sneaking me extra pudding cups, her eyes kind but furious. "I've seen families fight," she said once, "but never ones who'd let their kid die for money." Days blurred into a cycle of surgeries, pain meds, and fractured thoughts. When I could finally talk, I rasped to Ethan, "They said I'm not theirs. Not their daughter." His jaw clenched. "Those monsters," he spat. "You almost didn't make it because of them." The doctors confirmed it. Another hour's delay, and I'd have been gone. Not from the blizzard, but from their greed. Ethan tried calling Charles and Victoria. Voicemail. Texts ignored. They vanished, probably thinking I was already dead. Their path to my fortune clear. I lay there, stitches pulling, ribs aching, grappling with a life built on lies. Why no baby photos? Why the dodgy birth certificate? Why their obsession with my money? Ethan brought my laptop, despite Lily's protests about rest. "I need answers," I told him. I started digging, first checking Colorado's birth records. My certificate listed Charles and Victoria's parents, but the font was off like a bad photocopy. Then I searched missing children cases from 29 years ago, focusing on the West Coast, where they'd lived before Aspen. One article stopped my heart. Ava Larson, a 3-month-old, kidnapped from her Seattle home in 1996. The photo showed a tiny girl with wispy blonde hair. My hands shook as I read about David and Margaret Larson, parents who never stopped searching for Ava. Could I be her? The timing fit. My earliest memories were from age 3, after we'd settled in Aspen. I needed proof, but first I needed to know why Charles and Victoria had done this. If you've ever uncovered a lie that shattered your world, share it below. This story's about to get crazier. Stay with me. That article about Ava Larson haunted me. Staring at the grainy photo of a 3-month-old with wispy blonde hair, I felt a jolt, like looking into a mirror that reflected a life I'd never known. Lying in that hospital bed, my leg in a cast, my body a map of bruises, I couldn't shake the question. Was I Ava, stolen from a Seattle family in 1996? Charles and Victoria's betrayal, abandoning me to die for my $6 million inheritance, pushed me to find the truth. Their words, "She's not our daughter," weren't just a confession, they were a key to a past they'd buried. I had to dig deeper, even if it broke me. Ethan, my rock, kept my laptop within reach despite Nurse Lily's side eye. "You're supposed to be healing, not playing detective," she'd say, but her extra coffee deliveries told me she understood. I scoured databases, my fingers trembling with every click. The Massachusetts birth record discrepancies from my last search echoed here in Colorado's system. My birth certificate, supposedly issued in Aspen, had a watermark that didn't match records from 1996. I cross-referenced Charles and Victoria's history. Before Aspen, they'd lived in Seattle, leaving abruptly in late 1996, months after Ava's kidnapping. No records showed them with a child before they appeared in Colorado with a 3-year-old me. I showed Ethan the article about Ava. "Look at the timing," I whispered. "It fits." His eyes widened. "You think they took you?" I nodded, my throat tight. "But why? And how?" Ethan, ever the journalist, suggested a private investigator. "I know a guy," he said, dialing Noah Carter, a former Denver cop turned PI with a knack for cold cases. Noah visited the next day, his weathered face serious as I recounted everything. My inheritance, their abandonment, the Seattle connection. "It's circumstantial," he said, "but compelling. We need DNA to confirm you're not theirs, and if you're Ava." DNA was tricky. I was stuck in a hospital bed, and Charles and Victoria had vanished. Noah had an idea. "They're likely at your condo or their chalet, sniffing around your accounts. I can get samples, hair, toothbrushes if you've got a key." I did. My condo key was in my bag, recovered from the blizzard wreck. Ethan volunteered to go with Noah, slipping into my Denver place while Charles and Victoria were out. They grabbed a hairbrush from their guest bathroom, used during their last visit. Noah rushed it to a lab he trusted. While waiting, I kept researching. David and Margaret Larson, Ava's parents, had never stopped searching. A 1998 interview quoted Margaret, "Someone knows where our daughter is. We'll never give up." They'd started a foundation for missing children, their pain etched in every article. Their son, Michael, born 2 years after the kidnapping, grew up with Ava's absence like a shadow. I found a recent photo of them at a Seattle fundraiser. Margaret's green eyes mirrored mine. My heart raced. What if they were my family? The hospital days dragged, physical therapy twice daily, each step agony. Lily cheered me on, sneaking me chocolate when the pain peaked. Ethan updated me on Noah's progress. 5 days later, Noah returned, his expression unreadable. "The DNA results are in," he said, handing me a report. "You're not biologically related to Charles or Victoria. Not a trace." I exhaled, relief and grief colliding. It was real, they weren't mine. Then Noah dropped the bombshell. "I ran your DNA through a database. It matches samples the Larsons submitted years ago. You're Ava Larson, 99.9%. The room spun. I was Ava, stolen at 3 months old. Charles and Victoria hadn't just lied. They'd kidnapped me, built a life on a crime. Ethan hugged me, his voice shaky. "You found your family, sophomore." But I wasn't ready to celebrate. Why did they do it? I asked Noah. He dug into their past. In 1996, they were drowning in debt, failed real estate deals, gambling losses. "My guess," Noah said. "They were paid to take you, maybe by someone who couldn't have kids. Something went wrong, so they kept you, banking on a future payout. That payout was my inheritance, supposedly from a grandma I'd never met." I called Abigail Reed, a lawyer Ethan recommended, specializing in fraud. Over a hospital room speakerphone, I spilled everything. Abigail was blunt. "If you're Ava, this is kidnapping, identity theft, maybe worse. That inheritance? We need to trace it. It might not be from a grandma." She suspected it came from a trust they'd manipulated, using my stolen identity. "They've been siphoning your accounts for years," she added, citing small, unnoticed withdrawals totaling $80,000. Abigail's next words chilled me. "They're trying to declare you incompetent, claiming brain trauma from the blizzard. They want guardianship of your estate." My blood boiled. They'd left me to die, and now they were after my money again. Noah confirmed they'd booked flights to Bali. No extradition treaty. "They're planning to drain your accounts and run," he said, showing photos of them meeting a known money launderer in Denver. I wasn't just angry, I was done. "We need a plan," I told Abigail and Noah. They nodded. We'd set a trap, using their greed against them. I'd write a letter, one that would expose every lie and land them in cuffs. If you've ever had to outsmart someone who betrayed you, drop a comment. This story's about to hit its peak. Keep watching to see how I made them pay. The DNA results hit like a second blizzard, confirming I was Ava Larson, kidnapped from Seattle in 1996. Charles and Victoria, the people I'd called mom and dad, weren't just liars. They were criminals who'd stolen me, raised me as a pawn, and left me to die in a hospital bed for my $6 million inheritance. Their latest move, trying to declare me incompetent to seize my estate, proved they'd stop at nothing. Noah's photos of them with a money launderer and their one-way tickets to Bali showed they were ready to bolt. But I wasn't the scared girl they'd left bleeding in the snow. With Ethan, Lily, Abigail, and Noah by my side, I was ready to turn their greed into their downfall. It started with a letter. Abigail, my lawyer, laid out the plan in my hospital room, her voice steady but fierce. "We create a vulnerability in your financial accounts, a bait they can't resist," she said. "Make them think they can access your main investment fund with the right documents." Noah nodded, adding, "They're desperate. They'll bite." I'd write a letter sealed in a safe deposit box exposing their crimes, the kidnapping, the fraud, their attempt to let me die. The police would be waiting when they opened it, catching them red-handed. Ethan squeezed my hand. "You're brilliant, sophomore. They won't see this coming." I spent hours drafting that letter, each word fueled by 29 years of their lies. My hand shook, not from pain but from rage and clarity. "You thought you could bury my truth," I wrote. "But I know I'm Ava Larson, stolen from her family. Your crimes are over." I detailed the DNA evidence, their hospital abandonment, their Bali escape plan. "The police are watching," I ended. "This is your end." Abigail reviewed it, her eyes gleaming. "This'll bury them." Noah scouted First National Bank in Denver, where I had a safe deposit box. Abigail worked with the bank manager to set up box 247, containing only my letter. She planted a fake digital trail, an email to my advisor, accidentally sent to Charles, mentioning critical account documents in that box. Noah tailed Charles and Victoria, confirming they were sniffing around my condo, likely hacking my emails. "They took the bait," he reported 2 days later. "They're asking about safe deposit access." Lily helped me stay focused, sneaking me protein bars between grueling physical therapy sessions. My leg was healing, but walking was still a battle. "You're stronger than they'll ever be," she said, adjusting my brace. Ethan kept my spirits up, joking about naming my future memoir Blizzard Betrayal. But beneath the laughs, we all felt the stakes. If this failed, Charles and Victoria could vanish with my money, leaving me to rebuild from nothing. 3 weeks after the blizzard, I was discharged to Ethan's Denver apartment. His cramped 2-bedroom wasn't built for a wheelchair, but we made it work. My hospital bed squeezed into his guest room, meds lined up on an IKEA nightstand. Abigail visited, her briefcase stuffed with updates. "They're escalating," she warned. "They've hired a shady doctor to claim you've got brain damage from the crash. They're pushing for emergency guardianship." My stomach churned. They weren't just after my money. They wanted to erase my voice. Noah's photos showed them meeting a forger in a sketchy Denver diner, crafting fake IDs for their Bali getaway. "They've opened shell accounts in the Caymans," he said, pointing to bank records. "They're planning to transfer everything." I clutched the safe deposit key, my trap's linchpin. "Let them try," I said, my voice steel. Abigail smiled. "That's the spirit." The next day, Ethan's phone rang. It was Victoria, her voice syrupy. "Ethan, darling, we're so worried. The hospital said she's out. Is she with you?" Ethan put her on speaker, winking at me. "Yeah, she's recovering." Victoria's relief was fake as her pearls. "Oh, thank goodness. We tried visiting, but they blocked us, family only." A lie. Lily had confirmed no visits, no calls. Ethan played along. "She's resting, but you could come tomorrow." I nodded, heart pounding. "Wonderful," Victoria chirped. "We'll be there at 2. That night I barely slept. Nightmares of the blizzard mixed with Charles's cold voice. Let her estate cover it. I woke at 4, sweating, Ethan handing me water. "You okay?" he asked. "I need to face them," I said. "I need to see their eyes when they realize they've lost." He nodded. "You've got this." Noah set up hidden cameras in Ethan's living room. Abigail waited nearby with police contacts. At 2 sharp, Charles and Victoria arrived, armed with flowers and crocodile tears. "Sweetheart," Victoria cooed, kneeling by my wheelchair. "We've been sick with worry." Charles patted my shoulder. "The hospital's privacy rules are ridiculous." I played fragile, slurring slightly. "It's been hard. Everything hurts." Their eyes flicked to each other, calculating. "We want to help," Charles said, too eager. "Your finances, your condo, It's too much for you now. Victoria stroked my hair. We can manage everything. I mumbled, my accounts, the big one, documents in a safe deposit box. Keys in my purse. Ethan handed it over. Charles pocketed the key, barely hiding his glee. We'll handle it, he said. They left in 15 minutes, promising to secure my funds. The trap was sprung. If you've ever had to outsmart a liar, comment below. Stick around. Their downfall is next, and it's epic. Their hurried footsteps echoed as Charles and Victoria left Ethan's apartment, clutching the safe deposit key like it was their ticket to freedom. I slumped in my wheelchair, not from exhaustion but from the weight of what was coming. They thought they'd won, that my $6 million inheritance was theirs for the taking. They didn't know the key unlocked nothing but my letter. A trap that would expose their 29-year-old crime of kidnapping me, Ava Larson, and leaving me to die in that blizzard. Ethan squeezed my shoulder. They're walking right into it, he said, his voice a mix of awe and fury. I nodded, my heart pounding. This was it, the moment their lies would collapse. Noah's cameras had caught every word of their fake concern, their greedy glances. Abigail, waiting with police in a nearby cafe, texted. They're en route to First National. Bank's ready. I pictured Charles and Victoria, smug in their Range Rover, plotting their Bali escape. Noah, tailing them discreetly, called to confirm. They're at the bank now, acting like they've hit the jackpot. I gripped the arms of my wheelchair, my broken leg throbbing in sync with my resolve. Lily, who'd stopped by with takeout, sat beside me. You're about to take them down, she said, her nurse's calm hiding a fire. How do you feel? I swallowed hard. Like I'm finally free. At First National, the manager, briefed by Abigail, played his part. He escorted Charles and Victoria to the vault, box 247, with a practiced smile. They used my key, their hands likely trembling with anticipation. Inside was no account information, no transfer codes, just my letter, a single envelope marked to Charles and Victoria Bennett. I'd poured everything into those words. I know I'm Ava Larson, kidnapped by you in 1996 from Seattle. I know you left me to die in the hospital, betting on my death to claim my inheritance. DNA proves I'm not yours. The police know your crimes, kidnapping, fraud, attempted murder. You're not going to Bali. You're going nowhere. The final line was for me. You stole 29 years, but you'll never steal my truth. Security footage, later shared by Noah, showed their faces as they read. Charles's smirk vanished, his eyes darting like a cornered animal. Victoria's hand shook, the letter slipping as she grabbed his arm. They looked up to find 4 police officers blocking the vault's exit, badges gleaming. Charles and Victoria Bennett, you're under arrest, the lead officer said, listing charges. Kidnapping, identity theft, fraud, conspiracy to commit murder. Charles blustered. This is a misunderstanding. Victoria tried to shred the letter, but an officer snatched it. Handcuffs clicked. Their Bali tickets and forged passports, found in Victoria's purse, sealed their fate. Abigail called me minutes later, her voice triumphant. It's done. They're in custody. The letter worked. They read every word, and the cameras caught their panic. I closed my eyes, relief washing over me like warm sunlight after a storm. Did they say anything? I asked. Charles tried to spin a story, she said. But Victoria broke down, muttering about debts and no choice. They're done. Ethan hooped, high-fiving Lily. I managed a shaky smile, but inside I was unraveling. The people who'd raised me, who'd tucked me in and cheered my science fair wins, were monsters. Yet their defeat was my victory. Noah arrived that evening, debriefing us over pizza in Ethan's cluttered living room. They thought you were too weak to fight back, he said, shaking his head. Big mistake. He'd uncovered more. The inheritance wasn't from a grandma, but from a wealthy aunt of Charles's, childless and deceived into believing I was their biological daughter. She died when I was 10, leaving a trust they'd manipulated for years, skimming $80,000 in small withdrawals. Their debts, $2 million in failed ventures and gambling, drove their desperation. My survival in the blizzard forced their hand, accelerating their plan to declare me incompetent and flee. Abigail joined us, her laptop open to legal documents. The charges are airtight, she said. Kidnapping alone carries 20 years minimum. Add fraud, conspiracy, and attempted murder. They're looking at decades. She'd frozen their assets and secured mine, ensuring they couldn't touch a cent. We're also tracing the trust's origins, she added. If it's tied to your kidnapping, it could strengthen the case. I nodded, overwhelmed. The truth was out, but it left a hollow ache. Who was I without their lies? That night I lay awake staring at Ethan's ceiling. The hospital betrayal, the DNA results, the letter. It all felt like a dream. But the weight of being Ava Larson, a girl stolen from her real family, was real. I thought of David and Margaret Larson still out there searching for their daughter. Could I face them? Could I be the daughter they'd lost? Ethan found me at dawn, sketching in my journal, a habit I'd buried under Charles's demands for practical pursuits. You're gonna be okay, he said softly. You're already stronger than they ever were. The next step was mine to take. I had to meet the Larsons to reclaim the life stolen from me. If you've ever had to confront a truth that changed everything, share it in the comments. This story's not over. Stay with me to see how I found my real family and made them pay for 29 years of lies. The sound of Charles and Victoria's handcuffs clicking shut was a victory, but it didn't fill the void their betrayal left behind. My letter had exposed their crimes: kidnapping me, Ava Larson, in 1996, defrauding my $6 million inheritance, and abandoning me to die after the blizzard. Their arrest at First National Bank, caught on camera as they read my words, was justice served cold. Yet, as I sat in Ethan's cramped Denver apartment, my wheelchair a constant reminder of the crash, I felt unmoored. My life with the Bennetts was a lie, but the truth, that I belonged to the Larsons in Seattle, was a door I was terrified to open. Abigail's call confirmed the Bennetts were behind bars, but my real fight was just beginning. Reclaiming Ava. Ethan and Lily kept me grounded. Lily, sneaking me hospital pudding cups even after my discharge, said, "You've already beaten the worst. This part. You've got it." Ethan, sprawled on his couch with Noah's case files, added, "The Larsons have been waiting 29 years. They'll love you, sophomore." Their faith pushed me to call Claire, the Larsons' attorney. Her voice was warm over the phone. "David and Margaret are reeling, but they're thrilled. They want to meet when you're ready." My heart raced. "I can't travel yet," I admitted, "but I'd like to talk." Claire arranged a visit in 10 days. Enough time for my leg to heal and my nerves to settle. Those 10 days were intense. Physical therapy was grueling. Each step with my walker felt like climbing a mountain. Lily cheered me on, joking about my superhero grit. Ethan scoured online for Larson family details. David taught history. Margaret ran a bookstore. Their son, Michael, 27, built bridges and shared my sarcastic humor. Their foundation for missing kids showed a wound that never healed. I stared at their photos, seeing my green eyes in Margaret's, my lopsided grin in David's. Could I fit into their world? Abigail updated me on the Bennetts. "No bail," she said. 40 years minimum for kidnapping, fraud, and attempted murder. Noah revealed they'd been paid $60,000 to steal me for a barren couple who died before the handoff. Stranded with a baby and debts, they forged a trust from Charles's aunt, pocketing $90,000 over the years. My survival forced their desperate incompetence ploy. "They're finished," Abigail said, securing my accounts. But the ache of their betrayal lingered. The night before the Larsons arrived, I sketched in my journal, lines jagged with fear. Ethan found me at 2 in the morning. "What if I'm not their Ava?" I whispered. He sat close. "You're enough just as you are." His words carried me to the doorbell's chime at 11. Ethan opened the door and there they were. David and Margaret, eyes wide like I might vanish. Margaret's green eyes shimmered. David's smile mirrored mine. They hesitated, then stepped inside. "Ava," Margaret breathed, kneeling by my wheelchair. "May I?" I nodded and she cupped my face, her touch soft like she was memorizing me. "You have my smile," she said, voice breaking. David knelt too, tears falling. "We searched every day," he said. "You're our miracle." I saw myself in them, my eyes, my gestures, and felt a warmth I'd never known. We talked for hours, their stories of baby Ava spilling out. "You loved my lullabies," David said, showing a tiny rattle. "Margaret gave me a mountain-shaped pendant. For the daughter we knew we'd find," she said. They left, promising daily calls, and I felt anchored, like the blizzard's chaos was clearing. Charles and Victoria had stolen 29 years, But the Larsens gave me a future. If you've ever reconnected with a lost piece of yourself, share it below. Stay tuned. The next chapter of my fight and healing is coming, and it's powerful. Meeting David and Margaret Larsen was like stepping out of the blizzard's shadow into a warmth I'd never known. Their green eyes, my eyes, and David's crooked smile stitched together a past stolen from me 29 years ago. That mountain-shaped pendant, cool against my skin, felt like a promise. They'd never stopped searching for Ava, for me. As they left Ethan's apartment vowing daily calls, I clutched the pendant, my wheelchair less a cage and more a temporary hurdle. Charles and Victoria's betrayal, kidnapping me, abandoning me to die for my $6 million inheritance, had shattered my old life, but the Larsens offered a new one. Still, I needed to understand the years I'd lost, to piece together who Ava Larsen was before I could fully claim her. Ethan, sensing my restlessness, brought me a stack of articles about the Larsens. "Thought you might want these," he said, plopping them beside my coffee. Lily, stopping by after her shift, added a worn notebook. "Margaret sent this, her journal from after you were taken." I hesitated, then opened it. Margaret's words bled through the pages. Ava's crib is empty, but my heart won't let her go. Someone knows where she is. She wrote of sleepless nights, of David papering Seattle with missing posters, of their fear turning to resolve. They'd held yearly vigils, each birthday a quiet ache. Reading her grief, I cried, not for me but for them, for 29 years of love I'd missed. Michael, my brother, called the next day. His voice, warm and teasing, felt oddly familiar. "Mom says you're a science nerd like me," he laughed. He shared stories of growing up with Ava's absence. A bedroom kept untouched, a family rule to say her name daily. "I always felt you out there," he said softly. I told him about my climate research, my sketches. "You draw?" he asked. "Mom'll love that. She's got sketchbooks everywhere." We talked for 2 hours, a sibling bond forming across lost time. I asked Ethan to drive me to Denver's library, where I accessed Seattle archives. Articles from 1996 described the Larsens' ordeal. A broken nursery window, a community rallying, then fading as leads dried up. A 1999 piece quoted David. "Ava's our light. We'll find her." Their foundation, started in 2000, had helped dozens of families, but never their own until now. Each story deepened my connection, like roots taking hold. Abigail called with updates on Charles and Victoria. "Their trial's set for next month," she said. 40-year sentences are likely. Noah had traced my inheritance to a forged trust from Charles's aunt, who'd believed I was their daughter. They'd siphoned $100,000 over 20 years. Their debts, $3 million in bad investments, fueling their final gambit to steal everything. Knowing their motive didn't ease the sting, but it sharpened my resolve to live beyond their lies. Physical therapy pushed me forward. I traded my wheelchair for a cane, each step a defiance of the blizzard's damage. Lily celebrated with cupcakes, saying, "You're unstoppable." Ethan, ever my cheerleader, suggested I sketch the Larsens' stories. "Turn their pain into art," he said. I started drawing a nursery window of vigils candles, each stroke a bridge to my past. Margaret sent photos of baby Ava, my tiny hands clutching her quilt. I sketched her too, feeling her presence in me. A week later, I visited the Larsens Foundation website, watching videos of their work. Margaret's voice, steady yet raw, spoke of hope. I emailed her a sketch of Ava's rattle. She replied, "You're our artist, Ava. Come home when you're ready." Home. The word felt new, fragile, but real. Charles and Victoria had stolen my first 29 years, but the Larsens were giving me the rest. If you've ever uncovered a past that reshaped you, share it below. Keep watching. My journey to rebuild and reclaim is just getting started, and it's inspiring. Margaret's email, "You're our artist, Ava. Come home when you're ready," lingered like a warm ember. Sketching her stories from Ava's empty crib to their vigils had woven me closer to the Larsens, my real family, after 29 years stolen by Charles and Victoria's lies. Their arrest for kidnapping me, fraud, and leaving me to die in that blizzard was a victory, but rebuilding my life as Ava was the true challenge. Ethan's apartment, cluttered with my sketches, felt like a cocoon. With my cane replacing the wheelchair, I was ready to step into a future-eyed shape. I used part of my $6 million inheritance to start the Ava Larson Foundation, aiding families of missing children. Abigail, my lawyer, helped structure it, ensuring every dollar honored the Larsons' decades of hope. Lily joined as outreach coordinator, her compassion perfect for connecting with families. Noah, the PI, advised on casework, his gruff care grounding us. Ethan, ever my hype man, built our website, joking, "You're saving the world, sophomore." The foundation gave my pain purpose, turning Charles and Victoria's greed into good. My sketches evolved into paintings, vibrant canvases of loss and reunion. I held an exhibition in Denver, naming my centerpiece Blizzard to Dawn, a swirl of snow fading into light. Margaret and David flew in, their pride overwhelming. Michael, my brother, teased, "You're making us cry, sis." The show raised $30,000 for the foundation, but the real win was painting again, a passion the Bennetts had buried. Margaret framed my sketch of Ava's rattle, hanging it in their Seattle bookstore. I moved to Seattle 3 months later, near the Larsons, resuming my climate research with a focus on trauma-informed science. Weekly dinners with David, Margaret, and Michael filled gaps I hadn't known existed. Charles and Victoria's trial loomed, but I was no longer their victim. I was Ava, whole and healing. If you've ever rebuilt after a betrayal, share it below. Stay tuned for the final chapter. It's about truth, strength, and a life reclaimed. Seattle's rain felt like a fresh start, washing away the blizzard's scars. Living near the Larsons, David, Margaret, and Michael, I'd found home after 29 years stolen by Charles and Victoria's lies. My Ava Larson Foundation thrived, channeling my $6 million inheritance into hope for missing children's families. Paintings like Blizzard to Dawn marked my rebirth, each brushstroke defying the Bennetts' betrayal. As their trial ended with 40-year sentences for kidnapping, fraud, and attempted murder, I stood not as their victim but as Ava, free. Charles and Victoria had gambled on my death, but I'd outsmarted them with that letter, exposing their crimes in a bank vault. Now I've learned truth is a storm, brutal but clarifying. It tore my life apart, revealing I was Ava Larson, yet it led me to love I'd never known. Trust your gut when something feels off. It's your compass through deception. No past, however dark, can lock your future. You hold the key to rebuild. Ethan, Lily, Abigail, and Noah remain my chosen family, their support unwavering. Weekly Larson dinners, filled with Michael's jokes and Margaret's sketches, heal old wounds. My climate research now weaves in resilience, inspired by my journey. The Foundation's work saving lives is my legacy, not the Bennett's greed. I'm Sophia Ava Bennett Larson, a name honoring who I was and who I've become, scientist, artist, survivor. If a truth ever reshaped your life, share it below. Like, subscribe, and pass this story on to someone needing hope. Your past doesn't define you. Your truth does. Keep shining, it always finds its way. Today's date is June 15, 2025, and I'm living proof. No storm lasts forever.